Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Wanita Mercer. I'm the Chief Heart Leader at Lead My Heart Executive Coaching and Consulting. And you are watching to this new series for this month called The Spiritual Journey of Leadership. Now, today is the first episode. So if you are not familiar with me and what I do, every month I bring to you a series about leadership. Sometimes it dabbles a little bit in project management as well, but just some really great advice and strategies that you can take to heart and start using right now regarding how you lead and how you lead others and also how you lead yourself. And so this series is actually the second series that I've done this month for the first time. I usually only do one, but I'm making my series a little bit shorter so I can do a little bit more. But I'm so loving this series because I'm really introducing to you all what I teach, what the message is all about, what this company is all about, what we do and why we do it, and why it's so important. So for me, this series is everything I love. It's everything that I'm focused on, and you're going to learn more about me and my heart in my company, Lead My Heart, and our focus on helping executive leaders to be everything that God has called you to be, for you to walk in your power, for you to understand the importance of your role and how to fulfill it more effectively. Okay. And so that is what this series is all about, that spiritual journey that is a part of leadership. And understanding what the spirit is about, what spirituality is about, and how does that apply to the workplace. So I'm super excited about this series. Now, you know what I want you to do? I want you to engage with me. Like the video, love the video, okay? Also share it on your timeline. Tag people, friends, family, coworkers, your executive leaders in this video so that they can watch it and be blessed. But also, comment. Let me know that you're here. Say hello and react. Okay, if I say something that you like, react, love it, all that kind of good stuff. But also, if you have questions or you want to share some of your experiences or other advice and suggestions that I may miss, please feel free to comment on the video and join in and helping me teach and share wonderful information. And then also, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, if you haven't already, you know what I want you to do, and that is to subscribe, okay? Hit that subscribe button so that you can be a follower of Lead My Heart, but also ring that bell so that you can get all the notifications when I'm live so that you don't miss any updates, okay? All right, so are you ready for episode number one? I certainly am. To talk about spirituality in leadership. Okay, so when you think of spirituality, the first question we have to acknowledge is, well, what is spirit? We can't really get to the whole spirituality part if we first don't understand what spirit is. Okay, and so our spirit is what gives us life, it's what makes us exist. Okay, it is what God created humans to be first. If we go to Genesis, not if, I'm going. Are you going with me? I'm going. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 says, "And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Verse 27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female, created them." And so what we have to realize is that we were first created in the image of God. And that image of God, God is spirit. God is spirit. And so when God created male and female, he first created us as spirit. not as human beings with a body. Our spirit and our bodies are separate. Hey, Cal, thanks for joining me. And we go down to verse in chapter 2, verse 7. It says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." We were first made in the image of God as spirit. And in the image of God, in the likeness of God, we were made to function as God functions. Hmm. I said a powerful thing right there. You're not just a simple human. You are made in the image of your creator. You're made in the image of God, and he first made you spirit like him, to function like him. And then he gave us a body. And then we know that he put man to sleep, and then from his rib made woman. Okay. And so we're first spirit, and it's life affirming, that life affirming force. So even if you don't believe that, let's say God created humans and all of that, most of us would agree, though, that there is a spirit, a soul inside of all of us that gives life. And that when that soul is no longer in our body, there's where death is present in the physical, right? I was present when both of my dogs died. And to experience death like that up close for the first time for me, okay, it was, I don't want to use the word traumatic, but it was something. It changes you. And one thing I noticed that as I held Jamie in my arms as he took his last breath, when he died and the doctor said he's gone, you could feel the difference in his body. His body was lighter, not heavier. It was lighter because I knew his spirit was gone. If you've ever experienced anything like that, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You felt the spirit leave. And if I didn't know that I was spirit before that moment and that it's spirit that is a part of all living beings, I knew then. It was confirmed for me then. So, for those of you who are on a journey to still discover who made you, who created you, my heart goes out to you, and I pray that you do come to that resolve. I truly do. But I know deep down in my heart that God created me and all of us in his image. And that helps me understand why I'm here, why I yearn and desire for the things that I do, and how we're supposed to work and live together. And so that spirit also, it gives us an inner life, a nature, a character about us. As we live and go through life, the things that we experience, the things that we grow to love and adore, to have strong affections for, the things that we are afraid of, those terrors and those traumas, it becomes a part of who we are. Things that, yes, we learn to overcome, we learn to heal from, but it becomes a part of who we are. And makes us have to acknowledge those things as to what makes us human. One of the things that got me studying spirituality in the workplace was um, a professor who taught a class. And one of the things that he wanted us to take away from that class was that you're supposed to check who you are at the door. That you have a professional self and then you have a personal self. And when you go to work, you need to bring the professional self. And I disagreed so wholeheartedly that I started to do research that kind of set me on this path that I know I was supposed to be on, from the beginning anyway, that led me to my doctoral research. But because my whole take on that was that's impossible. It's impossible for us to check who we are at the door, and why should we have to? I think the point is to be so fulfilled and live with such congruency in our life from one place to another that it helps us to become who we're supposed to be. Not in just different places. Yes, we may have different, ways of being in different places, but when I go to work, I don't want to check who I am at the door. I don't want to leave the minister self. I don't want to leave the daughter. I don't want to leave the sister and the auntie and the creator and the designer and the singer and the worship. I don't want to leave that at the door. That's a part of who I am. But there's a way for us to hone all of that in and be who God created us to be everywhere we are and do it in a way that's effective. Okay? And so it it gives us that inner life that we can't check at the door. And then we also have to acknowledge that as being spirit, that God also gave us two desires. It says that he made Adam and he placed him in the Garden of Eden. And he put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it, to take care of it. So he first gave Adam a purpose, an assignment, something to do. And then he said, you know what? It's not good for Adam to be alone. He needs a partner, he needs a helpmate. And he created Eve as his suitable helpmate. Someone that would balance him out, someone that could do things that he couldn't do, but they could work together and do great things. He created community for Adam, a partnership for Adam. And so what we have to realize is that by the our truest nature of having an inner life in our spirit is that we have two desires that God gave us, and that is purpose and partnership. It's calling and community. It's mission and membership. No matter how you want to call it, we desire to know what we were put here for. Why do we live? Why do we exist? And to be able to do it with people, okay? To be able to do it with someone else, okay? And so we strive for that, we look for that, we seek that. Sorry, my headphone cord is distracting me. Um, we look for that everywhere we are, in every part of our life. But most importantly, we need to be sure to have that where God has placed us. And honestly, if you want confirmation that you're where you're supposed to be, that you're walking in alignment with the purpose that God has given you and desires for you, you will have those two things. You will have purpose and partnership. You will have calling and community. You will have a mission and membership. If you don't have a sense of belonging, not fitting in, because we're not called to fit in, and I don't think anyone should strive to fit in. But when we're talking about things like diversity and inclusion, what I think we're really, or should I say, what we really should be targeting and focused on is a sense of belonging. And the difference between fitting in and belonging is purpose, it's mission, it's knowing that you play a role in what's happening and what's coming and what needs to happen, that you have a place as a part of the process. And so if you want confirmation, I'll say it again, that you are where God wants you to be. You'll have those two things. A sense of purpose and a sense of community. Okay? So now that we understand what spirit is, now we can begin to talk more about spirituality. Okay? And with spirituality, there are three things that we're always striving for in this spiritual practice, and that is engaging the spirit. Engaging the spirit. And the way that we engage this is the spirit, sorry, tongue tied, is by intentionally engaging our spirit with our environment, not just nature, but the people around us, um, the country we're in, the community we're in, the neighborhood we're in, the people that we're around. Like we desire to feel connected and engaged with that, to feel a sense of mission and purpose with that. We also are seeking in regards to spirituality, and we're seeking, okay, ways to nurture and satisfy our spirit. We're seeking mission, we're seeking purpose, we're seeking calling in everything. We're seeking partnership, community, and membership in everything. We're constantly seeking those two things. Where can I find it? Where can I get it? And if you're wondering why it is that you always are thinking about this or striving for that or looking for it, it's because that's how you were made. That's how you were created. There's nothing wrong with you. You're doing exactly what you were created to do. And we're always connecting, desiring to connect with others and something bigger than ourselves. Whether it's in God, that's where I find my primary connectedness in God. But for those of you who don't have a relationship with God or don't believe, or you have a different spiritual journey, then you're still striving and looking for connection in something bigger than yourself, whether it be in an organization, a fraternity, a sorority, something that you say, yeah, this is bigger than me. Okay. We all have that natural desire to engage, to seek and connect our spirit. Okay. And how do we do this? Well, there's so many different ways, and this is certainly not an exhaustive list of spiritual practices. They're just some that you might connect with. One of them is deep reflection. I'm big on deep reflection. I love to reflect. Since I was a little girl, I've always asked questions. I've always wondered and sought and was inquisitive. And that has helped me to truly become the scholar that I am today in terms of seeking, creating content, and looking to solve problems and fill gaps where there are some. And I see the intent and purpose behind deep reflection and being a seeker and being someone who loves to connect and to feel a part of something, or even making connections across different schema, whether it's history and current social practices and sociology or finances, or maybe it's things with religion, and how does that connect to design and the psychology of fashion, just all those different things. Um, and so the ability to make those connections and to create new meaning, that is like the highest form of intelligence and learning. And so it's important that we're able to do that. And that starts with deep reflection. Number two, prayer. Praying to God, praying to whatever religious figure that you talk to. But in prayer, you're seeking answers from someone greater and more wise and more knowing than yourself. I pray every day. I'm praying all day. I don't just pray in the morning or at night. I pray throughout the day. God help me. As every time I go live, I'm praying, God, bless this. Let it be a blessing to those who see and hear, Father. Like whoever and whenever they watch it, let it just be inspiring to them and encourage them to action, to change. And so that's my prayer. And so all day long, I'm asking God for guidance, for direction, for strength, to teach me how to do something, to show me what it is He wants me to do. And I hope that you're doing the same thing. Three, meditation. Meditation is important to clear your mind, to not think. Meditation is not a thinking exercise, but it's the opposite. Is how do I clear my mind? Or how do I learn to focus on particular things? To focus on what's positive, to focus on what's good, to focus on what's encouraging. Okay. And so meditation is done throughout many different um, cultures and different faiths and all of that. And so it is a really great practice to learn how to do well. And then mindfulness and presence. Mindfulness is almost like a type of form of meditation, but it doesn't necessarily have to happen in the way meditation does. It doesn't necessarily have to require silence. Your mindfulness and your way of doing presence might include music that helps you to do that, or being in environments that helps you to do that. But it's capturing the moment. It's being in the present. It's taking in your full self, what your current state is. Is taking in your full environment, and it's not getting caught up on what happened an hour ago or yesterday or last night. It's not thinking about, oh God, what's going to happen in an hour, what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but it's like focusing here and now so that you don't miss what's important. Also, journaling. Journaling is another way of like reflecting, but it's really getting your thoughts on paper. It's allowing you to work through things and to say things that perhaps you can't say out loud or to someone else, to sort through how you feel and what you think. And so it gives you the ability to know and learn more about yourself, but to kind of guide you to those questions that you might want to have deep reflection about later. You can do creative expression. For example, spiritual practices that I do through creative expression is songwriting. I love songwriting and poetry, or as creative writing in some form. And so, for those of you who are natural artists and you love to express yourself through writing, maybe not professionally, but in some way, creative expression is a good way to do that. It might not just be through songwriting, but singing or humming, um, playing music, so or painting, sketching. Another way I do creative expression is through coloring. Coloring really helps me to focus, and sometimes while coloring, I can go into meditation. And so to kind of help clear my mind to get to that point. So that might be something you want to try. Mindful breathing is one technique that I introduced in my series last month as a way of taking rest, another way of practicing presence. And it's to kind of take in that break, and I'll kind of get to that in a minute of that intentional break. But through mindful breathing, it really is what it sounds like. It's focusing on your breathing, what it sounds like, what it feels like, where it's coming from, where you want to send your breath, all of it. And just clearing your mind with that. I really enjoy mindful breathing. It helps. Yoga or Tai Chi is I've done Tai Chi before with the Sisters of Charity of Incarnate Word when I was in college. That was interesting and fun. I enjoyed it. I also have done yoga. I enjoy yoga as well. And Gosh, I don't know the name of the yoga studio I went to in Schertz. I would love to give them a shout out. But the young lady who led us, and my friend in yoga was amazing. And she had it from a Christian perspective where she prayed with us, and we meditated on scripture and had different meditation focuses throughout the yoga session. That was really, really remarkable and much needed. So, oh gosh, I will have to get the name and I will put the name in the caption of this video, to give a shout out to her if you want to go check her out. And then also rituals and services. For example, um, worship services. For me, going to church is essential to be a fellowship, to get refocused, to be in the presence of God with other believers. It really brings me strength and clarity, to my day, my situation, my week, all of it. It's so needed for me. And one of the rituals that I do as a part of my faith is fasting. Fasting is a type of ritual that, again, can bring focus, to help make your prayers more focused, and how you conversate and talk to God about different um, situations and issues that you're dealing with. And so oh gosh, it's almost like fasting for me is spiritual detoxification. I kid you not. There really is no better way for me to say it. And so, just like it's important for us to detox regularly for our bodies, you got to detox spiritually as well. And fasting, true fasting, helps you to do that. And to understand the heart of God and what He considers true fasting to be, go check out Isaiah 58. Okay, and you can read more about it there. And then also, the 10th spiritual practice that you might do is community service, helping people, serving, whether it's serving at your church, serving at an organization, just helping people. Because again, that connectedness, you realize that this is bigger than me, or when you go and help people, it just kind of helps foster gratitude. Not that you're like, "Oh, poor them," but it's just like, "Oh gosh, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm the one serving, that I'm the one helping, that I'm the one who's lending, and not on the other end." But what is so amazing is that when you serve and you serve people that you're just like, "Oh gosh, I'm so glad it's not me." Those are the most grateful people. They're the most grateful people. When we did a homeless reach out, and I hope I didn't offend anyone by saying homeless. I think the more PC term now is the unhoused. Okay. Um, you know, unhoused, no home. I don't know, but serving people in those situations, we're so grateful, and they were just like, "I don't need anything." You ask them, "What do you need? How can we help?" It's just like, "I'm good. I don't need anything. I thank you for the meal, but God is taking care of me, and I'm grateful." Humbling, humbling. You can also take focus breaks. So, typically in most organizations and most career fields, you have your lunch. Some have it 30 minutes, some have an hour, depending on how many hours a day you work. But then you also, in many cases, have those two 15-minute breaks. Take your breaks. Take your breaks, people. They're needed, they're necessary for you to stay focused, for you to stay healthy, for you to de stress. You need those breaks. And so to take focus breaks, though, to be intentional about your spiritual practice is just as necessary. Okay. Not taking a break from one thing to do something else that needs to be done to then go back. That's not a focus break, but to be refocused, to take to assess your inner self, what's going on with you, how you feel, to just have that moment. And then connecting with nature is another one. For those of you who love to go hiking, to be at the beach, ooh, that's me, who just loves to take a walk on a beautiful sunny day, as I do. Those are spiritual practices that just kind of help you get away from your normal environment and to just take in the moment. And during those moments of connecting with nature, it kind of opens up for other spiritual practices that you could be in deep reflection at the same time. You could be practicing deep mindful breathing at the same time. You could be praying at the same time, fasting at the same time. Okay. So those are just some spiritual practices. If there are others that you engage in, feel free to share and let others know what you do to kind of take a break, to get recentered, to refocus, and to feel connected, not only with your inner self, but something bigger than you as well. Okay. So, what are the benefits of spirituality? Oh gosh, spirituality. There's so many benefits, okay? I wouldn't talk to you about this if the data did not prove that it's working. But the only proof I needed, honestly, for me, being transparent, is that it's such an alignment with God, what God designed us to do and what He desires for us. So, of course, it works. But if you're interested in the independent studies, if you're interested in what academia has to say, if you're interested in what non-religious, data and reports show, there's many out there. There's a plethora of studies. Go check them out. As to the benefits of spirituality, not just in personal practice, but in the workplace as well. And some of these benefits are better health, greater psychological well-being as well, for mental health, because it helps you to be less depressed, and have reduced high blood pressure, as well, and less stress even during difficult times. And I think that's the goal, because life isn't going to get any easier. Things just aren't going to magically get better and you're never going to have problems again. That's not realistic. But what we can do is learn to handle our problems better, to learn to face challenges better, right? And to navigate and be more effective in just our stress management in the midst of life. And so that's where spirituality and knowing who you are and how you were made and what you desire and why you desire it is so important. Because when you understand that it's a part of God's design, there's just a clarity and an understanding that comes with that, and a peace that surpasses all understanding. And when you're navigating life and different problems and situations that you're in. But it also produces more positive feelings, peace, assurance, security, love, connectedness, all that good stuff. And it again helps you to be able to handle stress better. So those are the many benefits of spirituality. And that it doesn't even begin to touch the benefits that it brings to the organization. Okay. But if you think about everything that happens through an organization happens through its people, then no wonder it's a priority to make your people and what their needs are. Okay. How you strategize and how you um, do your strategic planning, how you create vision and mission around the people that you have. So now, as we start talking about organizations, let's talk about spiritual leadership. So when it comes to spiritual leadership, okay, what we're talking about is the fact that you're a spiritual leader. You are a spiritual leader. When you have come to understand and acknowledge that we are spirit, that every person on your team, every person that you've employed, every person in your organization, every stakeholder, every community member, they're spirit, your spirit, we're spirit. As an executive leader, you're a spiritual leader. Yeah. You're not just a leader of people. You're a leader of spirits. You have a role in that. Ooh, the heaviness of that. The heaviness of that. Okay? And that's why we can't take leadership and God calling you to leadership lightly. That is a calling that requires diligence and responsibility and accountability, not just from others, but from first yourself. And so you first acknowledge in spiritual leadership that you are a spiritual leader. Okay. And so our desire here is to intrinsically motivate and inspire others in a vision of service. That's my service. That's a spiritual practice. As a leader, as an executive leader, as a spiritual leader, I see it as a service to help motivate and inspire. Do you? All right. And how we foster efficacy. We help people believe that they can do what is needed and necessary, that they have the abilities, they have the skills, they have the intelligence, they have the heart to do it. That it's not just dependent on others. Yes, we should work together, but it first begins with that person and them believing that they can do it, and we help them to do that. We also foster commitment in people through building community and helping them identify their sense of calling. We help them to commit to the mission. We help them commit to the vision because they feel a part of it. They know they have an assignment that's necessary in helping us to achieve it. Also, we foster productivity because not only do they know they can do it, not only are they committed to it, but now they're gung ho about locking arms with their teammates and fulfilling and doing what needs to be done. And then we also foster overall spiritual well being. We encourage people to find purpose and partners. We encourage people to take care of themselves, to take their breaks. We encourage people to take their lunch. We encourage people to have balance, to find fulfillment, because it's about their overall well being, not just an employee, but as a human being, that their life is meaningful. And we have a role in helping them to achieve that. And how do we do that? Again, through calling and membership, or as I'll say, purpose and partnership, calling and community, mission and membership. Okay. Because we understand that those are the primary needs of every individual. And so we also acknowledge some values within spiritual leadership, and that is spirituality, of course, that in our life that we all have, that is our heart. It's our heart. And with Lead My Heart, we talk about lead the heart. Lead, love, educate, affirm, and deliver. Love people, educate and train people, affirm people, encourage them, and then also deliver on what you say you're going to do. Show up for them, provide for them, deliver for them. And then we lead their hearts, and we are our habits, our experiences, our affections, okay? The things that we love. We are our responsibilities and our roles that we have in our life, and our terrors and traumas, the things that we're afraid of. That's what we have to lead as spiritual leaders, because that is what the spirit is consumed of. It's not just the intellect, it's not just the intelligence and the education and the skills that people bring into the workplace, but it's all of that. Because if you don't acknowledge these experiences and the things that people love and cherish and the things that they've encountered and endured, how can they become who you need them to become in the workplace? Right? How can they grow and become every not everyone, but everything that God created them to be? How can they truly have values that align with what you're doing and be focused on that? If they're feeling broken and disconnected and don't have a sense of purpose, they don't know why they exist. And then they're depressed about that. They're unhappy about that. And it's filtering over into their personal life. And because their personal life is messed up, the relationships are messed up. Now that's filtering back over into work life, right? That's why we have to address these things. And we do that by valuing hope and faith. Now, for those of us who have faith in God, we know that that's our source of what we hope for. But for those of you who don't have a relationship with God, you still have hope. You still look forward to things. You still expect great things to happen. And that hope is so important. But we also value vision, knowing where we're headed, where we're going, what direction we're supposed to walk in, our path, because that is going to help set the tone for how we get there. But we first have to know where we're going. And then altruistic love. Not just love, but there's a focus here on altruistic love, unselfish love. That it's not about loving people for what they can do for you, how they make you feel, but you just love them because they're human. You just love them because you know you're supposed to. Because it's what God desires for us, to love him and to love others. You just love because that's what every human being deserves. Not because we're so good and so right. No, we're not. We're not. We're not good people a lot of the time. But we love because we're not good people a lot of the time. It would be easy to love great people, perfect people, but it's the imperfect people, which includes all of us, that need and deserve love, real love. And so that's what it means to be a spiritual leader and to be open and to embrace people that you lead, knowing that you're leading not just people, but spirits. So then what does that look like for workplace spirituality? So when I talk about workplace spirituality, and this is becoming more and more of a popular topic, we're not talking about religion in the workplace. Okay, because there is a difference between religion and spirituality. Now, all of us who are religious, okay, or have faith in a deity, we do experience spirituality, and that's a way of doing that. But every person who's spiritual not always has a relationship with God or have faith in a deity. For example, my students in China, even though China has millions of Christians in the country, um, you know that as a state, it is more of a agnostic state. And many of my students, though, they understand spirituality in a way that many Americans don't. Many people in Western societies don't. And because that is not rooted in religion, but it's rooted in connectedness and a sense of purpose and knowing that you're a part of something that's so much bigger than yourself, which is a cornerstone and a major value in socialism and in communities or countries that practice have that type of social system. Here in America, where we have a more individualistic society, it is kind of difficult for people to grasp spirituality from the standpoint that it's not religious. Because even in religious type ideologies, many of us see that as still a personal thing, an individualistic thing. That's between me and God. It's me and God's relationship. It's me and Him. Instead of understanding that in our relationship with God, we're supposed to learn more about how to love one another and be in relationship with one another. That's why God said, love me with all your heart, soul, and mind, but also love each other. That's God's heart and desire for us. And so, again, spirituality is different from religion. And so, when you hear workplace spirituality, that's not to suggest that one way of practicing spirituality may be your own religiousness that you bring into the workplace through prayer, through reading scriptures, to help empower you and feel connected and give you strength for the day. But it's not the only way. And so I did research, my doctoral research on workplace spirituality, because I was wanting to understand this sense of why do people think you need to like check yourself, at the door, your whole self, versus, you know, how do we bring our whole self to work and how do we make it something that's desirable and works and helps the organization thrive rather than something that people, dismiss or are afraid of. Oh gosh, when I was wanting to do research and reaching out to organizations saying, hey, do you mind if I conduct a spirituality assessment in your organization? People are like, no, we don't do religious things here and we don't want religion. I was like, it has nothing to do with that. It really doesn't. Um, Now, if that's how many of your employees practice that, that's one thing, but it's very different. So let's look at the three things that workplace spirituality encompasses, okay? And if you look at different researches, yes, you may see many different variables being measured when it comes to workplace spirituality, but I like the breakdown of these main three. And the main three are engaging work, sense of community, and alignment of values. Okay. And what we're saying here is that when people experience engaging work, again, purpose, calling, mission, okay, and what they do, they're already experiencing a sense of workplace spirituality. Because remember, it's about calling and community. Okay. So when you're engaged in your work, the work that everyone is working on, you have the vision, you know what the organizational mission is, and you feel engaged with that because of your personal sense of purpose or your personal sense of um, assignment, divine assignment, it's going to engage you. It's going to engage your spirit. Okay. And then also through sense of community. We've talked about this, but when you feel like you belong, not that you fit in necessarily, because that's not the goal, but the goal to belong by feeling a part of the mission and that you have a part of doing that and fulfilling it, that is that sense of community that again engages the spirit. And then alignment of your personal values with organizational values. So important. Because if you're going to work and you're constantly working on content or working on projects that you don't believe in, why are you there? That's number one. Why are you there? Why spend most of your life doing something you don't believe in or don't like or don't want to sell or don't want people to drink or you don't want people to eat it? Why? Why? I know you need a paycheck. I know you need a job, but there are other places that will provide a paycheck for you to do a job for something that you feel more a part of, that you believe in. Pursue that. Okay? Um, because this is the thing. People also live at work. You don't just live at home in your house. You just don't live with your family. You live at work too. You thrive there. You build relationships there. You pursue purpose there. You do it at church. You do it in your community. You do it at organizations that you serve in. You're living at work. Many people are having a childcare at work. You're doing exercises at work. You're showering at work. You're doing so much more at work now. Don't you want it to be fulfilling? So that's what workplace spirituality is all about. And then we get to the idea of spiritual change readiness, which is what my doctoral research was about in relation to workplace spirituality. And so in 2016, my study that I published was about looking at the relationship through a correlational study between workplace spirituality or spirit at work, okay, as it was more formally called in my study, and the relationship between that and attitudes towards organizational change. And what I found in the study was that from people from across many different sectors, age groups, um, really, I will say that well, not so much my population, but the people involved in my study was a great representation of the American workforce. And what I saw was that people who experience engaging work, purpose, calling, mission, and sense of community, partnership, community, and membership. You see? You see? All right. Those two things help them have more accepting attitudes towards change and less fear and cynicism towards change. That's what we want, right? As executive leaders, we want our team members to be more accepting of change and less fearful of it. And so and have less cynical ideologies or thoughts or expressions towards it. We want them to accept it. We want them to believe in it. We want them to want to actively execute, okay, the change. And so those two things showed up again in my study. And so I started to coin this as spiritual change readiness. That if you want people to be more accepting towards change, which is crucial to your organization thriving, because we've seen these last 2.5 years how organizations who couldn't change well, who couldn't adapt well to all these moving parts, pandemic, racial injustices, having to work from home, all these different things, supply chain disruptions, the great resignation, if you don't know how to adapt, okay, and change with the necessary or change and change um, with the times as necessary. That's what I was trying to say. You won't survive. And so this is to help you survive and knowing how to manage change properly, or rather, even lead it. So, these are some final takeaways from spirituality that I want you to understand and its role in leadership. That spiritual leadership prioritizes the purpose of existence. It doesn't prioritize the business. It doesn't prioritize the products or the services. It prioritizes the fact that we're existing, we're humans, and we have a spirit. It's different from religion. That's the second thing that I want you to take away from this, that religious people are spiritual, but not all spiritual people are religious. Okay? It's one of many ways we connect with the world around us and find purpose and calling. For me, it's the only way. But for others, it's a way that they're still exploring and on their spiritual journey. The third thing that I want you to take away is that spirituality serves diversity, inclusion, and equity efforts. It truly does. Because it engages that sense of purpose that each of us have, that sense of desire for membership and calling, and I mean, and community that all of us have, and helping us to see each other that way. That helps to build compatibility and working with one another. It's important, but you can meet your diversity, inclusion, and equity goals and objectives and still encourage workplace spirituality. I want you to know that. That it's the way that you do it effectively is to be a spiritual leader. Okay. Number four, it also connects us via purpose and partnership. I've said that over and over, so I'm going to leave that there. But in number five, it strives for continuous improvement and fulfillment in life. That's the journey. The journey is for us to continuously improve, to continuously assess the things that we need to work on, the things that we could do better, the things that are really effective that now we need to maybe put some efforts in other areas, which causes us to change. It causes us to adapt. And anything that's not changing or adapting is dead. And we don't want that. Okay. And so it's also about pursuing fulfillment on this journey. And spirituality helps us to do that. So you might be thinking, how do I know if I'm a spiritual person? Like, how can I gauge this? How can I assess it? What's my capacity? Right. And so the way that you can do that is to think about this. Is love a priority for you? Do you love people? And do you strive to love the people that you work with? Hey, Brandy, great to see you. Do you love people? Are you humble? Because humility is a big part of spiritual leadership. Because when you understand that you're spirit, that everyone is spirit, that we all desire that purpose and partnership and everything that we do, and we're looking to fulfill that and satisfy that, then you know that you don't have, a role that's more important than someone else. That you look for ways to work together to help everyone to achieve that kind of fulfillment. Are you empathetic? Do you take a step back and have deep reflection about what it must be or feel like to for someone else to be experiencing something? Do you try to slip their shoes on for a second before you react too quickly? It's so important that we begin to see people for true people, not employees, not a number in an organization, okay? Not a means to an end, but as real people with a spirit that needs to be nurtured. Are you a person of faith? And for me, that's in Christ, in God. But if you have other faith, you know, is that something that you practice? That you don't check at the door, but you take it to work with you. That you strive to practice it and embrace it in every part of your life. Because you don't have to check it at the door. You shouldn't check it at the door. Faith should be the most important thing to you in life. And so it's important to find a way to bring that and to make that a part of everything that you do. And work is no exception. Do you have a sense of gratitude? Are you thankful for even the problems that you experience in life because you understand that every problem is also an opportunity, right? Do you take up the time to be grateful, to count your blessings and the good things that are happening, or do you just focus on the bad? Another way to know if you have a big spiritual capacity is to assess your sense of wonder for the world. Do you look at the world in awe, not just in awe of all the horrible and ridiculous things that happen, But in all of the possibilities, do you still dream about what can happen, what should happen, and perhaps what role you may have in all of it? That's that sense of wonder. Do you ask the important questions that need to be asked to get a sense of understanding? The Bible says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Though it costs you all you have, you should still get it. Because that's how we build community, through communication, to making sure that we are on the same page, that we're talking about the same things, so that we can build something together. And then also, do you have a sense of interconnectedness? Do you know that you're not doing this alone? Do you know that you're not above anyone? But to get anything significant accomplished in life, that you have to lock arms with other people? I love to collaborate. It's hard to collaborate. It's so hard to collaborate, but we need more of it. We need more conglomerates. We need more people and businesses coming together around a purpose and a mission, because we can do more together than we can as one. Do you realize that what you do affects other people? That it matters the decisions that you make, that it matters what you say, it matters what you do, not just to your life, but to everyone around you. Because having that sense of interconnectedness will also enhance your sense of accountability. And then also, vision. Can you see ahead? Do you know where you're going? Maybe you don't know every turn. Maybe you don't even know how long it's going to take you to get there, but do you have that sense of expectation and hope for what's ahead? If you have these things, that tells you that you have a great capacity for spirituality and to be that spiritual leader that you need to be. So, as we get ready to close, okay, because I've been at this over an hour, I get excited talking about this. Um, but this is the final thought. As leaders, we know three things. As leaders, we know who we are. And it's so important that as heart leaders, as spiritual leaders, okay, that we know that we're the image of God and that we have been empowered to function like God because we are made in his image. We also know that we're spirit and that spirit has two needs for partnership and purpose. And then we're also spiritual leaders. Because when we acknowledge that we're all spirit, you're not just leading people, you're leading spirits. The second thing that we leaders know is that we know what we do. And what we do is that we encourage others in identifying their calling and purpose. And then we partner with them in executing it. Now, I never would say it's your job to tell someone what their purpose is. You didn't make them. You can't tell them that. Nor should you ever try to convince someone that their purpose is only associated in working with you for your own self gratification. We can't do that. But what we should do is encourage people to identify their purpose and perhaps even get them connected with the right people, coaches that can help them identify those purposes and bring that out of them so that you can then help them execute it. And then the third thing we leaders know is why it's important. We know why it's important. It's important because we exist to live in community, to work together, to live together, to build together, and to fulfill our calling because none of us can do it alone. And the fact is, we don't just live at home. We don't live in our neighborhoods. We don't live in our personal lives and just on the weekends. We live at work too. We live, we thrive, we experience life there. as well. And so that is what spirituality and leadership is all about. And so I pray that you have really enjoyed this episode today. Let me know your thoughts. Comment below and how you're going to take what you learned today and apply it in being a more effective leader, a spiritual leader. Okay. Join me tomorrow for episode number 2, where we're talking about the 3 perspectives of spiritual leadership. That's right. It's not just leadership, but there are 2 other perspectives that we're going to look at too, followership and heartpreneurship. Okay. So, y'all, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And please share this video on your timeline and tag people in it. And I pray that you have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, in everything you do and with everything you have, love God and love people. Goodbye.